Hey everyone, I just wanted to take a quick moment at the start of this video to chat about a few things. We've got a ton of projects happening all the time here, and while I handle most of the mechanical design stuff, there are also other team members working on smaller projects in the background all the time. And every now and then they pop out a video to show off their work. These dev diaries are a way to bring all that work together in one place, making it easier for you to keep track of what we're up to and how far along everyone is. Plus, it's a great chance to shine light on some of the awesome work from our lesser known team members. Just a heads up though, these videos might not be as polished as our usual ones, and that's totally fine. Not everyone has the time to film and edit longer videos. But don't worry, our regular videos and streams are still here to stay. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's jump into it. The first dev diary is from Lotto, our newest team member, who's working on a pendant to interface with Millennium OS. I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, let's do another demo of I guess ESP32 pendant. It's basically, this is like a WT32SC01 Plus. It's an ESP32S3 MCU with a bit of extra RAM and flash. The pendant is really just, it's really just the screen. It's a housing, 3D printed housing for the screen. And then it has a couple, whatever, connectors, PH 1.2, 1.5, whatever it is. And it's really just hooked up to the encoder wheel. Like, it's differential encoding, so you just need 4 wires. That's connected here. The serial is just connected jankily with like 3 additional wires. And basically all the logic runs on the screen. That's the part of it, I guess. You could power many of these screens off of a LiPo battery or a lithium-ion battery, but this one is just going to run on USB-C for now. All right, let's see. So it's just booting up. The pen is booting up. It's not connected, so it has all the question marks right now. Let's see. Yeah, we can go ahead and home the axes. Just like, there's a lot of kinks to iron out. It's probably a couple bugs, but like, for example, I think on RF reports the positions to 0000, but I should probably check if it's homed and all that stuff. So I would display like an H here or something. Anyway, like, that's one little thing. For example, I'll probably find something on every screen, but still a lot to iron out. Anyway, let's home the axes. So we can just home Z. I guess we can home Y, and then X, and then it updates. Theoretically, it also updates the coordinates on the screen. There's a couple screens here. There's like probe machine status, which is also not fully implemented, but we can go to start off with a jog screen. It's supposed to have a feed rate multiplier that I haven't also not implemented yet, but anyway, we'll have like probably feed multiplier, a step size, and that's probably it. But right now, let's go for jogging. The most important part is, yeah, jogging. So I've re-implemented the whole thing. It's currently rewritten in C. It was written in MicroPython, but it was way too slow. So it's pretty reasonable right now. It's maybe still a tad delayed, depending on the acceleration of your machine and stuff, but it's pretty usable. All right, so we're jogging the x-axis. We can do Y if we want to, and then Z. Especially Z, it's stepping 1 millimeter right now. It's a little bit much, but it's fine. All right, so the point really was to build this thing was really to make probing easier. I think 9ml is working on the Millennium OS UI, and it's probably a big step up. But the dialogue-driven probing was a little bit like, I don't know, it was always hard to look at the computer, look at the machine, and whatever. So I just wanted another pendant. But so you could just jog the thing into place. All right, where do I put this? All right, whatever. So I'm gonna jog this just over the rail. So I'm jogging X right now, then I'll jog Y a little bit back there, Z down, bit more Y, like 2 more X. And you can turn it off if you wanted to. You can turn off the, it's on off mode, so you can readjust the pendant. Like, for example, if you had a step size of 1, of 1 millimeter, and every click would be 1 millimeter. So you could just like reset it to 0, like move your x-axis by 10 millimeters, move, turn it off again, move y by 20, and so on and so forth. So I can just move it back. So back to 0. I think x I moved 10, so I'll just go back 10. Anyway, so off is useful to just reset the pendant thing, rotary. That's mainly it. I mean, you have, in terms of display, we have, think again, coordinate switching, like switching the work coordinate system is broken. I think it'll crash if I try that. But you could theoretically switch the work coordinate systems up here. If you tap on the button, you can home, and it just shows you like machine coordinates and the WCS coordinates. Then this is the probe screen. I tried to unify all the settings into one screen, so the idea was kind of you do the settings first. Like let's say my rail is only 10 millimeters wide that I can probe, so I'll roughly 10. 100 wide is fine, the rest is fine. So you set the settings, and then you can just go and probe different things. Like in this case, this 3-axis probe, you can probe inside surfaces, outside surfaces, and then there'd be like a bunch of extra stuff like probably like touch off the reference surface or tool length stuff, whatever. Tool length calibration. Anyway, the only thing I've tested so far is the vice corner. So I'm just gonna try to run that. So I currently have a problem where like I'm trying to run a macro that saves the current position, changes the tool to changes the internal Mos tool to the touch probe, and then tries to move back to the position, but for some reason the macro doesn't, it just kind of dies right before it moves back, so it will fail. But theoretically, if I iron out the kinks at some point, you just kind of, this just kind of summarizes all the settings. Like for example, we're going to do like, it's not in quick mode. The work coordinate system is 0, I guess, it's G54. The width is 12-ish, length about 100, whatever, clearances, and so on and so forth. And then there's the G code it'll run, which is maybe wrong, but I think that's close enough. That's to be verified, but it'll just run a bunch of G code. So I'll start the probe. So Mos isn't aware that we've already mounted the probe, so we have to go through the routines. Yeah, and now the dialogues mostly work, but you have to double confirm and stuff, so again, more stuff to work out. But then we triggered the probe. My probe actually is just like I guess a gauge pin plus a wire that's connected to the gauge pin, and then everything else is connected via the rails to the other side of the, I guess, switch. It's not really, it's just closing the circuit. But yeah, here we go. So now it's touching off the reference surface. And then it was supposed to move back, but it'll probably just go up and stay where it is. That's a part of the macro I have to fix, but I haven't done yet. So, all right, now it's supposed to move back, but it won't. So it's just probing in place, and it's failing. So on this page, like pretty much every page, you can like change it back into the jog mode. Like I'm just gonna position it back, bring it back into position, and then we'll try it again. I hope it works then. Okay, let's go back to X. Just, in my opinion, I like that it makes positioning the probe and whatever the spindle easier this way. All right, so we're back in position. I'll try again. It'll again summarize the whole thing. I'll start the probe, and now it's doing its thing again. Oops. Can I zoom? Okay, whatever. Oops. It's just doing normal Mos stuff. And theoretically, the probe will sort of update whenever it gets a chance, a response from RepRap. RF. It keeps polling the state. Okay, worked this time. I mean, that's the main thing really. There's like more probe modes. Actually, you can also do, you're supposed to, oops, let me zoom out. There are additional probe modes. You're also supposed to specify which workspace you're going to save the probe results to, which I didn't, but there's like all the 3-axis vice corners, then again inside, so inside bore. This is like I combined 2-axis and like single-axis operations. So bore is 2-axis, the corners are 2-axis, and then the single surfaces are just 1-axis. I think I cribbed this off Linux CNC, and it seemed kind of nice to unify it into one screen. And then it's kind of the same thing, just outside probes, like outside surfaces, corners, and a boss. I haven't really done the extra stuff yet, so there'd be more stuff. And then on the machine tab, we have, again, macros aren't quite working yet. I used to have it working in Python, but they're not working anymore. But you'd have all your macros, and I could run them from Python, from the Python version of the firmware, but it's not working in the C version yet, which is the fast version. But in general, it also not fully implemented, but it's supposed to have, I've written the code to query it from RF, but it's not displaying it yet. But it'll have the feed rate, spindle RPM, and then you select whatever you're cutting, let's say you're cutting aluminum, 6mm amp mil, and like 2 flutes, and then it would update and roughly tell you the chip load based on the feed and the spindle RPM. You can set the WCS coordinates, might crash, but you can set the WCS coordinates here, so it zeroed out the z-axis, for example, and you can jog from, like, you can still jog from this screen. It'll tell you like the coordinates in the current workspace, which is G54. So I guess I gotta fix that logic there, but you can zero it out, so you can just do it from here, and then you can switch to Y, and you tap again. Now you're on Z again. I know, and then you can zero out Y and zero out Z. Yeah, I think that's mainly most of it. It's actually fast enough that most pendants have a continuous mode. It's probably close to fast enough that I think I'm only running it at 1,000 millimeters per minute as the requested feed rate. I think if you up the feed a little bit, it might be actually good enough that you probably won't even need a continuous mode. I think that's pretty much it. Like, main part is jogging, homing, like managing your work coordinate system. Then the main function is really probing, so probing all the surfaces and like whatever, and then having some machine information, and there'll also be a job status and stuff, all to be done. But yeah, I think that's it.